Welcome everyone to our county council meeting. It's Monday, April 20th. Oh, we're not at county council. I'm sorry, I have to switch gears. I've been really busy today. Where am I? Start over. All right, it's Monday, April 20th, and you're in the township office here at Adelaide Metcalfe. Sorry about that. I'll call the meeting to order. Are there any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Okay, seeing none. You've had a chance to look over the agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation that the agenda for the April 20th, 2026 meeting of council be approved. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor Campbell. All in favor? And that's carried. You've had an opportunity to read over the minutes of the previous meeting from April 7th. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation that the minutes of the Adelaide Metcalfe Council meeting held on April 7th, 2026 be adopted as printed. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All in favor? And that's carried. Next up on our agenda is the Committee of Adjustment. We have a recommendation that Council convene as the Committee of Adjustment at 7:02 p.m. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor Campbell. All in favor? And that's carried. The purpose of the upcoming Committee of Adjustment is to provide the Committee of Adjustment and the general public an opportunity to hear from all interested parties regarding the applications being discussed this evening. The public is advised that comments expressed and written material presented are a matter of public record available for full disclosure. In respect to the Committee of Adjustment applications, only the applicant or a public body can appeal a Committee of Adjustment decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal. This must be filed within 20 days from the date of decision. If you wish to be notified of the decision in writing, please submit a written request to our clerk, Michael Barnier. So first up is our planner, Ashley Sawyer, and I'll turn this portion of the meeting over to you.
Thank you, Chair Clark. So the subject lands for this minor variance application have a municipal address of 29085 Newell Road, and they're located at the northwest intersection of Newell Road and Egremont Drive, which is County Road number 22. The lands are approximately 1 acre in size, and surrounding uses are predominantly agricultural and rural residential in nature. The lands currently contain one single detached residential dwelling and one garden shed, and there are also mature trees on the property. The lands are designated in the county and township's official plans as an agricultural area, and they are zoned in the township zoning bylaw as a rural residential zone. So the purpose and effect of this application is to seek relief from the township zoning bylaw to facilitate the construction of one new accessory structure solely to be used for personal storage purposes. The proposed structure is approximately 288.84 square meters in size, or 3,109 square feet in size. Relief is required for the location of the structure, as technically speaking, the front lot line is Egremont Drive, even though it practically appears to be the side yard. Relief is also required for the maximum height, as 5 meters as measured from grade to peak, or 16.40 feet is permitted, whereas 7.26 meters or 23.82 feet is proposed. So this equates to a difference of approximately 2 meters or 7.42 feet. So I went out and took some site photos. So these are the views from Egremont Drive here. So the proposed structure will just be located in behind the dwelling. And then from Newell Road, it will just be located off to the left there. So the application was circulated in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. The building department and county engineer noted no concerns. Public Works noted no concerns so long as the existing driveway is used and a new one is not installed. And emergency services did provide standard comment that 911 signage be posted to the satisfaction of the county and township. Additionally, no comments were received by members of the public prior to my report submission. However, we are certainly here this evening to hear any feedback if any is provided. In terms of policy context, I did provide it in detail in my report. I'm just going to pull up the building rendering here because I just find that's a little bit nice to look at. So policy context, as I noted, is provided in detail in my report, so I won't say it word for word, but generally speaking, the interpretation of what is minor is not necessarily based on the numerical value that you're varying from the bylaw. It's based on what the proposed impact is. So in this particular instance, staff are of the opinion that based on the location of the lands, context of the development, and existing characteristics of the area, this minor variance does meet the 4 tests set out in the Planning Act, and we are recommending approval with conditions. The first being that relief applies solely to the accessory structure as submitted with the application. Second being that 911 addressing and signage be confirmed. And third, that this accessory structure is only used for personal storage purposes, so not a commercial or industrial operation. So as noted, I am recommending the application be approved this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. I don't think we have, Ron on?
Yeah.
Okay. Ron, do you have any comments for council? It's not required, but just checking in.
No, no. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Sorry, I had it on mute. No additional comments, I think, unless anyone has any questions.
Okay, thank you, Ron.
Thanks,
Any
thank-
questions from council? Okay, is there anyone in the gallery that wishes to speak to this application? Okay, council, your thoughts, questions, comments? Okay, it's moved by Councillor Kingma that the, I don't know that I want to read this whole recommendation out. You've got it in front of you there, that the request be granted and subject to the 3 conditions that are listed there. So that's moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All in favor, and that's carried. Thanks, Ron.
Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
You too. Next up is the application for consent B01-2026, and the owner applicant is William George Leach of 4181 Scotchmere Drive. So I'll turn this once again over to our planner, Ashley Sawyer.
Thank you. So the subject lands for this consent application, which is a lot addition, have a municipal address of 4181 Scotchmere Drive, and they're located just at the east of Scotchmere Drive and Tates Road. The application proposes to sever approximately 0.5 acres from the Scotchmere Drive property and merge it with the abutting rural residential property that has an address of 23920 Tates Road. So if you look at the image there, it's just the sliver that's outlined in red that they're proposing to merge from the farmland with the rural residential property. To provide some additional context, the Tates Road property was severed as a surplus farm dwelling severance in 2019 from the Scotchmere Drive property. The original severance proposal in 2019 did include these lands in question that are now the subject of this lot addition. Previously, they did contain an old barn that was proposed to be converted to a residential accessory structure, and therefore, at that point in time, it would have become part of the residential use of the property if it could obtain the appropriate building permits to convert that structure. As such, staff did support that original lot area that included that red outlined piece. However, the barn was ultimately determined to be in too poor of a condition to be converted, so the 2019 severance application was revised to remove these lands and keep them with the farmland, and the barn was subsequently demolished. So the application before the committee this evening proposes to merge those lands where that barn previously was with the Tates Road property. The application was circulated in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. The Building Department and the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority noted no concerns. A standard 911 addressing comment was provided by Emergency Services, and no written public comments were received prior to the submission of my report. So in terms of the policy and regulation, I'll touch on some key points, but I do go into them in detail in my report. But a lot addition is only permitted in a prime agricultural area from the provincial planning statement for a legal or technical reason, which is defined as a minor boundary adjustment, noting that they do not specifically define what minor is, but they do note generally this is for correcting a title issue, addressing an easement, or resolving an encroachment. At the time the Tates Road property was originally severed as a surplus farm dwelling in 2019, and as still applies today, A surplus dwelling lot is required to be as limited in size as needed, specifically for the residential use and the appropriate servicing. So while lot sizes for surplus farm dwelling severances are often within a 1 acre to 1.5 acre range being reasonable, it does entirely depend on site-specific constraints and features, particularly your service locations. Ultimately, the applicable policy framework is clear that the lot is required to be as small as possible to avoid the loss of agricultural land. So the application does state that the future use of the lands in question is that they're underutilized as a grassed area. We do have case law in the county as recent as October 2025 that states just because it's not used agriculturally now doesn't mean it shouldn't be or won't be in the future. So I did reference that OLT decision in my report. Staff also note that the Tates Road property has been functioning as a rural residential lot since 2019 without the inclusion of the added lands. Over this period, no planning rationale has been demonstrated to establish the need for additional lands from a planning lens. So for the reasons outlined in my report, it's staff's opinion that the proposed lot addition is not consistent with the provincial planning statement and does not conform to the Middlesex County official plan or the Adelaide Metcalfe official plan. However, the committee this evening has the option to follow staff's recommendation and deny the application. They may also defer the application for revisions, or they may approve with conditions. And I'm here if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ashley. Bill, did you want to speak to the application at all? Just come on up beside Ashley and use the microphone for anybody that wants to watch it at midnight tonight.
I guess I would just add that I probably made a mistake the first time around, and like the barn was the problem. It was supposed to be included in the original severance. And it wasn't. Like the building inspector at the time thought it needed some repairs, which it probably did. And I guess I was not sure what to do with it, whether to fix it up or tear it down. So I made the decision to make the lot smaller and leave the barn with the farm. And in the meantime, the barn has come down. It's gone. And that yard is, well, this is Jacob that lives in the house. He owns the house there.
Hi.
He's just been using the yard for part of his house yard. So I'd like him to own that piece of land. He's in the construction business, and he sometime in the future might like to build a shop or a storage building or something, and it would work a lot better if he had a little extra land to do it with. So that's about all I can add, I guess.
So that's currently not being worked?
No, it's
not
never
in
being worked.
production right
No,
now?
it's
Okay,
not
just
being
for
worked, no.
clarity, okay,
No.
okay. All right, council, do you have any questions of Ashley or Bill? Council Brody.
Through the mayor, just a comment, basically. I don't see a problem adding a minimum amount to this lot. It's only asking to be 1.5 acres total. We've approved lots of that size severances all the time. It is not being farmed, hasn't been farmed. You know, it would have been able to have that size before. As Bill says, he probably just maybe made a mistake, but at the time was, you know, just wasn't on his radar for that. I don't have any problem with this going through as a minor variance at all. So I would like to see it approved with, I don't know what conditions you'd have to put on it, but I have no problem.
Anticipation.
In anticipation.
Thank you. Yes, there's standard conditions proposed for a lot addition, and they were circulated to the applicant and owner as well.
Where's the existing septic and well for that property?
Septic on the south side of the house.
Is it caught with the existing? Okay.
That's where the septic is. There's a pump goes back to the fixture, this to the right there, and it's pump up. Wet spot.
Is it fair to say the weeping bed probably runs into the property that we're proposing that we're going to add on? Okay, we should have a ruler or something for you.
That'd be good.
Okay, okay. Okay, thank you.
So it would be safe to say if the owner of the house ever wanted to build something, expand, he can't build on the septic bed and everything else, so he is very limited. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, so if you wanted, that's my point is you'd need that piece at the back, I
Yeah.
think, if you wanted to put up a shop or something like that. Yeah. Okay.
again, I have no problem. Hopefully maybe get a little support.
Counselor Campbell, go ahead.
While you're standing there, Bill, I was driving by today. There's a couple of big trees, at least one big tree in that back added spot, isn't there? Where is it? Yeah, so you don't really want to take a tree out just, so you're never gonna farm it with a tree like that in the way. No. No. Yeah, okay. Mhm.
Oh, I've been planning around.
Okay, is there anyone in the gallery that has any comments or questions? Okay, thank you, Jacob. Good to know. Okay, so Counselor Brody, you were making a motion that the application be granted as presented with the, as long as the conditions 1 through 12 are met on this
Yep.
attachment. Is that fair to say?
Yep.
Okay. Is there a seconder? Moved by Counselor Kingma. All in favor? And that's carried. I look forward to seeing a building permit. Because we need the revenue, okay? No, thank you. Okay, could I have a motion to rise from the Committee of Adjustment at 7:18 PM? Moved by Counselor McKinnon, seconded by Counselor Kingma. All in favor, and that's carried. Okay, next up on the agenda is the presentation regarding the 2026 compensation review for elected officials. And this report was put together by Marianne Love Consulting. And are they on the screen? Yes, they are. There they are. Welcome to the meeting. And I'll turn this portion of our meeting over to you two ladies.
Thanks very much, Madam Mayor. I think we have a presentation we can present on our end. Joanna's going to put it up. Morgan, is there any intro on your end, or you just want me to jump in with the presentation?
No, I think you just go straight ahead.
Okay. And so, Madam Mayor, I'm happy to take questions as we go through, or you could hold them to the end. I'll just follow your lead once we get them up on screen.
Okay, we'll just pace it and see what happens here. Go ahead.
Okay. We'll also pace it to get it up on the screen. It's coming. Okay.
I just
here
can't
we
wait to
go.
hear you say next slide, every other slide.
It's like, thank you very much, Morgan. I know you're waiting for it. So-
Yeah, I think the only preamble I'd like to give is it's always awkward when council has to talk about this kind of stuff. Most of us do this not for the money, clearly. And so it's always an awkward conversation. And I think it's when we went around the horseshoe initially, we were like, yeah, no, we don't need to do anything, like just leave it alone. But then it was decided that, you don't know what the future holds, and there could be different people sitting around this horseshoe. And for some people that are taking time away from their job, they have to be compensated to do this. So whether it's good compensation or bad, that's for a debate for another day. But that's what the background is on why we proceeded with this report. So I'll turn it over to you now. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much for those reflections, Madam Mayor. And I would say you're bang on. It's not an easy subject matter to grapple with, but in fact, this is our second, but it's prevalent in the province to do a council remuneration review once a term. We're going to talk a little bit about that as we work through the presentation. And it's mainly to ensure that we have fair pay for an elected official. And it is prevalent. In fact, this is our second one today. And we're happy to be with you this evening. So Joanna's going to advance the slides. So this slide is talking just a bit about our background and our key objective. So the compensation for elected officials at Adelaide Metcalfe was last reviewed in 2022. And that review resulted in changes to base pay, and those those changes were implemented in 23. We were retained to conduct a review this year of base pay and other elements of remuneration, and having regard to 2026 comparator data. We reviewed municipal comparator information that was collected by the Adelaide Metcalfe staff, and we prepared a base pay market summary using percentile targets and also a remuneration summary. And of course, the recommendations in this report are here for council's consideration. This slide sets out the current pay practice, the current entitlement for remuneration and pay practice for elected officials at Adelaide Metcalfe. So current annual base pay for mayor is $24,000 and for councillors $15,786. Now, as a result of the 2022 compensation review, the current pay target is that the 50th percentile. I'll talk a little bit more about the targets in a few slides. And annual base pay increases are tied to the annual salary adjustment or the COLA adjustment for the employee group. We have 5 members of council, including the mayor, and there is no deputy mayor. And that's notable as I work through some of the market observations. Council members are provided $150 per diem per day for attendance for a full day attendance at conferences and workshops. Registration, travel, accommodations, meals, incidentals are accommodated by the annual budget, and there'd be entitlements in respect of those. It's notable to note to state that half-day per diems are not provided. And we'll talk about practice in a few minutes amongst our comparators in relation to this. Council members are also provided $150 per diem per day for attendance at meetings of boards or committees where less than that amount is provided by that board or committee that they are participating in. Kilometrage is reimbursed at the CRA rates. Council members do not receive benefits, and they're not entitled, or they're not enrolled in OMERS, and the council members receive an iPad. Just in terms of the overall summary, the 2026 base pay remuneration for mayor and councillor positions is competitive to the defined pay market, so we're in good shape. The 2026 market summary annual pay rates at the 55th percentile are for the mayor $23,848 and for councillor $12,594. Now, eight out of the 9 comparators have a deputy mayor with an annual pay rate at the 55th percentile of $19,623. We are generally competitive in all of the other elements of remuneration except for half-day per diems. And this would be provided for attendance at conferences, workshops, and training. As I said on the previous slide, there's $150 per day, and it's just for the full day. And many of our comparators provide half-day opportunity, a half-day entitlement, and a full-day entitlement. So usually the half day is about half of the amount of the full day. And I'll get to this in a minute. In terms of the methodology and the data we used, we had identified 10 comparators for the review based on established selection criteria. We have regard to size and scope. So for scope, we're looking at local area municipalities, geographic location. We have regard to historic comparators, and also a general alignment with the comparators that were used for the employee group's compensation review. A custom survey was prepared using these 10 comparator organizations: Bayham, Brooke Elphinston, Lucan Biddulph, North Huron, North Middlesex, Perth South, Plimpton, Wyoming, Southwest Middlesex, Warwick, and Zora. And salary data was not used for Brooke Elphinston because it was an outlier in relation to how other municipalities paid. However, we did use Brooke Elphinston for pay practice, the pay practice assessment. So we used them for part of their review. So we'll go to the next slide then. This slide sets out the sort of the results of the assessment. So starting at the top of the slide, base pay comparative statistics are shown in this market summary. We use various percentile targets, 50th, 55th, and 60th. You can see them in shaded areas. There's a percentage difference showing beside each of the targets, and this is the amount that the current base pay rate is either below or above the percentile value. So I'll just take a look at the middle column here. So you see the base pay rate for the mayor with 9 observations, so 9 matches, is 23,848. This is in the blue shade, sort of the middle of the assessment. The 55th percentile is the same target we're using for the employee group. So we're sort of aligning ourselves with that target. And you can see that we're just in and around that amount. So the current actual base pay rate for the mayor position is 24,000. It's just about 0.6% off of the market target. So it's right in that space. So it's competitive, we would say. Now the deputy mayor is showing, and you can see in the blue space there that the 55th percentile is $19,623. There's no percentage difference showing because we don't have one, but it shows that 8 of the 9 organizations that we used in our survey do have one, and that's the sort of the 55th percentile target. And for counselor, where our counselors are paid higher than the 55th percentile target, as you can see in the blue shade. Now, I wanted just to make an observation. First of all, maybe I'll just explain a little bit about percentile targets as well. So I've referenced that all through this slide. And a percentile target is a measure of our ranking. Okay, so for example, one example, on actual reflection, we have 9 comparators. So we're able to rank order the comparators from the highest paid comparator, for example, for mayor, and also for counselor, to the lowest paid. And then the 50th percentile is just sort of the middle ranking of that group. The 55th percentile is the middle, just a little higher than the middle. So the 55th percentile is the dollar rate where 55% of the observations are below and 45% are above. Okay, so it's slightly higher than the median. So we've come to some conclusions or observations a little deeper on this, and I'll just take those into the next slide. So in terms of the structure, 5 of our comparators have a 5-member council. 4 have 7 members, and 1 has 8. And as I said, 8 of the 9 have a deputy mayor. So in terms of the structure, we are grouped amongst the smaller cohorts in terms of members of council, and we don't have a deputy mayor. So when you're taking a look then at the base pay rates, I think these considerations have to be borne in mind. We'll talk a bit about that more in a minute. In terms of pay practice, all of our comparators report that they adjust their salaries annually. All of our comparators report that they align their salary adjustments with municipal employee groups. 7 of the comparators state that they use an external consultant to conduct the market survey or a market review prior to municipal elections. And one comparator reports that market reviews are completed as needed. One comparator reports an alignment of the pay target with the employee group. So it's notable, one stated that they do, I would say, quite a prevalent practice across the province when we do these reviews is the alignment on target with the percentile target with the employee group. And this is what we're recommending here as well. So we'll go to the next one, I guess. So in terms of meeting per diems, 5 of the comparators are reporting that base pay covers all regular meetings. 2 of the comparators provide additional compensation for council meetings. One provides $145 for meetings up to 4 hours and $200 for meetings over 2 hours. And one provides the mayor, deputy mayor, and councillors with rates, as you can see on slide here. That's not the majority. That's the minority, but that's what the reported practice is. 4 comparators provide additional remuneration for special council meetings, and that ranges from $88.64 to $193.90, depending on the length of the meeting. 2 of our comparators are reporting additional remuneration for committee meetings at $75 and $175 per meeting. But I would take you to top of the slide. So the majority, or the sort of the common practice here, is that the base pay is covering all of our regular meetings. Okay. In terms of training and conferences, 6 comparators report that they provide a per diem or an allowance when attending conferences, workshops, or other training events. 5 of those comparators that reported state that they provide a full day per diem for conferences. Those amounts are ranging from $100 to $325. And as noted in the previous slide, our practice is $150. 4 of those 5 comparators also provide half-day per diems, and they range from $66.65 to $163. One comparator is providing conference allowance for the mayor, and you can see it is noted here. Okay, so the conference allowance for the mayor and for councillors. One comparator reported a council conference training room accommodation is budgeted for annually. Okay, so and there was in this one particular comparator organization, it was the councillors could receive full reimbursement for all conference related expenses minus alcohol, but the per diem was removed 8 years ago and was replaced by a higher base salary. Right, but you can see again going up to top of slide. Oh, and I should say before I go to top of slide, there was another comparator that talked about a budgeted amount, all right, annually for meals and travel, etc. But you can see to top of slide, the normative or the common practice is to provide a per diem or an allowance when attending conferences and workshops. That's 6 of our comparators are in that space, as we are. In terms of kilometerage and car allowance, 3 comparators provide car allowance. One provides $85 a month. Reimbursement, 1 comparator provide reimbursement for travel to and from meetings.
Marianne,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt. Can you just go back about 15 seconds? Essentially, when you got to this slide, we just lost your audio.
Oh, did you? Okay, I'm going to just move my audio up a little bit too. How's that? Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, no, you're great. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'll just start at the top of this slide then. So for kilometerage and car allowance, 3 comparators report that they provide a car allowance. And of those 3, one stated it was $85 a month. All of our comparators provide kilometer reimbursement. This is a notable statement here. All right. One is providing 60 cents a kilometer, and all the others are using CRA rates. So we're aligning with this practice. 3 of our comparators provide reimbursement for travel to and from meetings, and 1 provides reimbursement for special committee and council meeting travel. 8 comparators report that travel is reimbursed at the same rate, whether it's within or outside of the municipality. Okay. In terms of benefits, one comparator reports that council members are eligible for enrollment in group benefits. Two report that council members are eligible to enroll in life insurance, and one reports that those premiums are paid by the town. And one comparator reports that council members can enroll in OMERS. So the participation in benefits and pension is not prevalent amongst the comparator group. In terms of technology assets, 8 comparators provide a laptop or tablet to council members, and one comparator reports that it provides to the mayor only. 3 comparators provide the mayor and the deputy mayor with monthly reimbursement for cell phone use. 2 comparators reports for mayor only, ranging from $30 to $50 monthly. And 1 reports that it's for emergency purposes only. 1 comparator reports that council members are provided a monthly stipend for internet services, and 7 report that assets are returned at the end of their term of council. So in summary, the provision of the laptop, or the iPad, I should say, for our mayor and member of councils at Adelaide Metcalfe is prevalent. That's a prevalent practice amongst our comparators. In terms of conclusion, we are of the view that the comparator group is representative based on the select criteria that's been referenced. The 55th percentile pay target is reasonable based on the size and scope and pay practice of the comparator group, and it aligns with the percentile target established in 2024. The base pay rate for the mayor is just slightly above the 55th percentile pay target, so we would say that's competitive. Councillors are above the 55th percentile target. However, 8 of the 9 comparators have a deputy mayor position, and that 55th percentile value is 19,623 based on those 8 observations. So when we look at the size of council at Adelaide Metcalfe, the fact that there isn't a deputy mayor, the fact then therefore we are paying above the 55th percentile pay target for councillor position, in our view, is reasonable. All other elements of remuneration that we reviewed to the pay market are generally comparable to the defined comparator group, with the exception of half-day per diems. And council may wish to consider the introduction of a half-day per diem of $75 for attendance at conferences and workshops. And this would be in addition to the 150-day per diem that's currently in place. And that 150 is for a full day attendance. But what this does is it recognizes the time required to attend a half-day workshop, if in fact that's the case. And that aligns with practice, the prevalent practice amongst the comparator group. It's best practice to increase annual base pay for elected official positions annually by the same amount used to adjust the employee's salary grid. This is what we're doing at Adelaide Metcalfe. The purpose or the benefit of doing this is it allows for a year-over-year increase to align with cost of living increase. This is supported by survey results and supported by practice across the sector. It's also best practice to review compensation once during the term of council using a survey of comparator municipalities. Again, borne out by our survey results and also practice across the sector. So in terms of recommendations, we're recommending that council maintain the current base pay for mayor and councillors. So that's the mayor at $24,000 and councillors at $15,786 annually. It's also recommended that council consider implementing the half-day per diem of $75 for attendance at conferences and workshops, in addition to the 150 full-day per diem. It's also recommended that council continue the practice of adjusting base pay for the elected official positions annually by using the same percent economic adjustment that's been provided for the employee group compensation grid. And finally, it's recommended that council adopt the practice of reviewing compensation once during each council term in consultation with a third-party consultant and with a comparison of comparator or comparable municipalities. And Madam Mayor, that concludes our presentation.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Are there any questions? I just want, just for clarity, to state that some of the items that the different categories that you've listed there, just for anybody watching this meeting, we don't get paid to drive here and drive home. And I know a lot of councils do that. We do not do that. The councilors don't have cell phones that are paid for by the municipality. We don't have life insurance and we don't have a pension. And counselors are not reimbursed for their internet. So the lot of these municipalities, like you're not seeing what each one actually encompasses within them. So it's very tough when you're looking at this to say that they're exactly the same because they're not all the same. So, and we've chosen, it may look like we're getting a couple bucks more, but we're not participating in those other items. So I just like to make that clear. Last call, any questions? Counselor Kingma, go ahead.
So like, through the mayor, I guess we just have to decide at some point if we're doing the half day per diem concept. I'm not opposed to it.
Counselor Brody, go ahead.
Through the mayor, I don't put in for mileage, even if I go to Toronto, or I don't put in for a per day diem anyways. I don't think we need that, but that's just my own opinion. I think we're compensated enough.
Okay, so we have a recommendation. Are you wanting to support that recommendation or? Okay, so Councilor McKinnon is moving that we accept the recommendation as presented.
So the recommendation, oh, sorry. Through the mayor, the recommendation is received on here. You're basically deciding if you want to proceed with a half day, because everything else is the same.
So that's the only thing. Okay, so Councilor McKinnon, you'd like to move that the half day be implemented?
Yes, I'll move that.
And a seconder? Seconded by Councilor Kingma. Well, this is for the next group that comes along, I guess. Go ahead, Councilor Kingma, comment.
Yeah, I just, through the mayor to maybe Johnny has an opinion on this. If someone goes half a day somewhere, are they getting the 100 and whatever, 50? How does that work? I don't do that stuff, so.
Through the mayor to Councilor Kima, great question. It is up to the individual councilor to submit those. So if a councilor chooses not to submit it, even though it is eligible, it won't get paid.
So sorry, for clarity, you can't double dip. You can't have $150 and $75.
Correct, yes.
Right, it's not
gonna
going to
yes.
be a double dip
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, yeah.
That's, yeah, at least not on my watch. Okay, sorry. Okay, so we've got the mover and a seconder, and I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Then that's carried. Next up, we have a recommendation that council receive the 2026 compensation review for elected officials, presentation prepared by ML Consulting. Moved by Councillor Campbell, seconded by Councillor Brody. All in favor? And that's carried. Thanks, Mary Ann and Joanne, for attending. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Our pleasure. Just wanted to thank council for their time this evening, and also thank you to staff too that were really in support of pulling in some of this information. It's not easy to get our hands on, so it was definitely a group effort. Much appreciated. Have a good meeting.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next up on our agenda is the consent agenda. Does anyone want any of those items pulled out of there? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation that items 7A through 7G listed under the heading of consent agenda for the April 20th, 2026 meeting of council be adopted as recommended. Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor Campbell. All in favor? And that's carried. Next up, we have our correspondence. We have a letter from the City of Sarnia, Strengthening Municipal Accountability and Public Trust, Bill 9. A letter from the Municipal Engineers Association regarding harmonized Ontario provincial standards. And just as a side, the county has sent a letter to that effect. Next one up, we have a request to support a resolution from the City of Mississauga on school board trustees. And lastly, we have a request to support a resolution from the Regional Municipality of Waterloo regarding proposed Bill C9 amendment. We have a recommendation that council receive and file correspondence items 8A through 8D. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All in favor? And that's carried. Next up on our agenda are the staff reports, and I'll turn this portion of the meeting over to our Fire Chief, Chief Parker, for the first quarter 2026 update.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. Through you to council, this report provides activities for the Adelaide Metcalfe Fire Department for the first quarter of 2026. The first quarter started off with a bustling, very bustling for the fire department. The icy roads and snowstorms continued into January and kept us busy on the roadways with motor vehicle collisions. In the first quarter, we had 23 responses in the township. 15 motor vehicle collisions, 1 motor vehicle extrication, 3 alarms, 3 false alarms, 1 alarm malfunction, and the rest were assistance was not required, or car 1 arrived and canceled the trucks en route. January, the fire department held our annual fire department appreciation dinner and awards night on January 13th. It was well attended with 65 people. A few of the firefighters were recognized for their years of service, including firefighter Owen Parker with 5 years, Kyle Dingwall with 10, Captain Rob Langford with 25 years, and Bert DeSmit with 30 years. As well, Captain Brad DeBruin had the honor of Firefighter of the Year with his outstanding attendance throughout the year and his leadership on the 402 hazmat call back in July. Our captain and training officer, Chad Tominga, has had the department honing our skills again. We started off with our medical emergency equipment and our first aid scenarios. As well, in January, we had Heather Scott from Southwest Middlesex, Glencoe Fire Department. She gave a mental health and wellness presentation. 18 firefighters and their spouses and companions attended. The presentation was regarding what to look for if a loved one is having difficulties and the tools that are available for our firefighters. It was very well received by all. On the one significant call in January, we had 5 transport trucks jackknifed on the 402 just westbound of Kerwood Road. In February, came in like a lion. 402 closures, county roads, busy with the extra traffic caused a 10-car pileup on Calvert Drive and Sexton Road. People traveling to Windsor trying to get home. So there's a lot of people there from out of the area. And as well, our training continued with the focus on high-rise operations with a trip to the Holiday Inn Express here in Strathroy, on the edge of Strathroy. Adelaide Metcalfe crew walked through the hotel, getting familiar with the layout of the rooms and our different techniques of firefighting in the high-rise scenarios. As well, training on our accountability board used at large-scale operations to track firefighters on scene and duties assigned was practiced. Our old but faithful 2000 GMC tanker that served our community for over 25 years was sold through Gov Deals It went very well. The tank was coming off and to be put on another chassis to serve as a water truck for a construction site. In March, our training continued. Tanker shuttle operations were practiced with our new Tanker 5, setting up multiple portable tanks for water supply. This included pumping water between porta tanks on site to make room for the next tanker inbound. The idea being we could have close to 15,000 liters of water on scene in minutes. All firefighters move through different training scenarios along with our junior firefighters. As well, we had the pleasure of our Fire Marshal Advisor, Joseph Grogman, visit their station in Kerwood for an inspection and discussion on new fire codes and future development. I'm proud to say he was very impressed with the station, the apparatus, and our ability to retain and recruit our firefighters. Our health and safety review, Nicole and I have been working diligently at updating our SOGs. We continue with new guidelines and policies as they come in. Our new safety boot policy on the apparatus floor has been implemented and is complete. All firefighters have safety boots for the apparatus floor now. All firefighters have been assigned an online workshop for violence and harassment in the workplace, which is to be completed in the second quarter of 2026. Our fire prevention officer, Kyle Kurasevich, he is doing inspections throughout the community. In January, Kyle re-inspected 3 businesses, and I'm happy to say they are now compliant and the files are closed. Kyle also reviewing information on dust collection system at a local manufacturer that needs a re-inspection. That concludes my report. If there's any questions or comments, I'd be happy to take them. Sorry,
Thank you.
Choked up tonight.
Thanks, Chief Parker. Are there any questions? How is it going with the automatic egg with Strathroy Caradoc? Where are we with that?
Very good. We've 2 of the calls we've been out to the 402, and we've worked very, very well with the department. And actually, tomorrow night we're going to simulate. We have a joint training session coming up on Mullaferry Drive, and we're going to simulate a structure fire there. Their aerial truck 17 is going to come out, and we're going to try and supply water to it. And a meet and greet. They're going to work through a scenario with our drone, and we're going to show them a few of the things that we have, and they're going to show us some of their new equipment, including their high-rise packs for hotels and high-rises. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting night.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear. You know, we are getting along with our neighbor, and I'm glad that there's been no issues between the fire departments and that they're able to work together effectively, and that speaks volumes of both departments. So I think that should be acknowledged. If there's no other questions, could I have a motion that council receive the Adelaide Metcalfe Fire Department first quarter 2026 update? Moved by Councillor Campbell, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All in favor? And that's carried. Thanks, Chief Parker. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the municipally significant event request regarding the Optimus Ball Tournament 2026. And I'll turn it over to our legislative clerk, Michael Barnier.
Through the mayor to members of council, pretty standard report annually. The township definitely loves to support the annual ball tournament. So the Optimists have submitted request to support it as a municipally significant event. It's to be held on June 12th, 13th, and 14th of this year. And this is a required step through the Alcohol and Gaming Commission to provide a special occasion permit in order to sell alcohol. So I won't belabor the the recommendation that council designates the Optimist Club of Kerwood Adelaide Metcalfe Annual Ball Tournament, June 12th, 13th, 14th, 2026, to be an event of municipal and or community significance, and to advise the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario that has no objection with this event. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions? It's a significant fundraiser for the Optimist Club, so I think it's great they're continuing with it. Councillor McKinnon, go ahead.
Just going to move the recommendation.
Thank you. So moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Campbell. All in favor? And that's carried. Next up on our agenda is the 2025 drain maintenance report, and I'll turn this over to our treasurer, Johnny Pereira.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. Through to council. This brief report is part of the annual process of the township to bill drain maintenance works for the prior year. Under Section 74 of the Drainage Act, the township is responsible for the maintenance and repairs of drains. And the Act directs projects completed are to be billed back to all upstream lands and roads within the watershed based on the maintenance schedule within the drains engineer's report. The schedule for 2025 drain maintenance to be billed back is included in the report. There's a total of $65,457 of repairs undertaken. Of that, there is $16,648 being submitted to the province relating to the 1/3 drain grant, with the net to be billed of $48,809. Of that, the township is responsible for $6,171 relating to drainage works crossing township roads. I would kindly ask council to consider the recommendation outlined in the report, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Johnny. Are there any questions? Pretty straightforward. Seeing none, then we have a recommendation that the 2025 drain maintenance bylaw be approved. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, Johnny, you're up again for the ICI recycling transition and cost recovery report.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. Through to council. So this report is addressing the transition of ICI, which is looking at industrial, commercial, and institutional recycling as part of the province's move to a producer responsibility under the Blue Box program. So ICI properties are no longer included in the residential program. And as a result, municipalities now need to determine how or if they want to continue providing that service. So the Blue Water Recycling Association has implemented a separate ICI recycling program if the township would like to participate in. So BRA has outlined 3 options for municipalities to consider. The first is to continue subsidizing the service, so being absorbed by the tax levy or current residential users. 2, which is implement a cost recovery framework through user fees, or completely discontinuing the recycling service for those users altogether. BRA has recommended moving to a user pay model, and this is staff's recommendation as well. So BRA has confirmed that starting in 2027, they'll be moving to a full cost recovery framework. So that would be $160 per each recycling bin for those ICI properties. 2026 is a transition year. So staff is recommending, again, moving forward with that cost recovery through a user fee model rather than continuing to subsidize. So staff are proposing a charge effective in 2026 on July 1st for $71.40 per bin. So BRA is subsidizing the increased costs for this program in 2026, and then it will jump up starting on January 1 in 2027. The township is still incurring costs right now as part of the program. So the $71.40 fee effective July 1st would cover the township's costs that were being charged relating to those ICI properties. So that would just ensure that this program is being paid by those who are benefiting from the service. So by offering or by implementing that in July 1st, it does provide some time for businesses to make any necessary changes. So staff is recommending that we send out communication advising these businesses of the upcoming change. They can then look at internally at their operations to see if the number of bins is sufficient, or if they could scale back, or if there are any more cost-effective options such as a bulk recycling solution. So again, pending council's approval tonight, a full cost recovery would also be included within the 2027 fees and charges draft report, and that would come to council later in the year for consideration as part of that normal process. I would kindly ask council to consider the recommendation outlined in the report, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Johnny. These are the, if you're driving around, these are the bins with the red lid, right? Okay, yeah, yeah. Okay, any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Brody.
Through the mayor to Johnny, do we have any idea how many bins this is gonna be? Like how many businesses, or is that not really happened yet?
Through the mayor to Councillor, great question. There are 36 bins currently. Again, that could fluctuate. So by providing businesses the opportunity to kind of look at how many bins they have on their property, currently there was no charge for recycling bins. So a business could ask for 6 bins and maybe not use all of them. So they may want to scale back once they are aware that a charge is coming. So.
I guess that's just a bit of my concern, because I know probably a bunch of places had extra bins to recycle more properly. Well, all of a sudden, if you got 10 bins, you're $1,600 a month.
Yeah, but
Correct.
to Johnny's point, they could look at a more effective way, like perhaps they would work with what the recycler and have a, like a larger, what am I looking for? You know, the metal, like
The dumpster.
dumpster type of
Recycling
idea.
dumpster.
Yeah, yeah.
If I
Go
can just
ahead,
add to
Johnny.
that. So I did have a meeting with Michelle from BRA, and she did indicate that there is a kind of your tipping point where the wheelie bins no longer make financial sense. So they do offer the large commercial type bins like you see for waste. But that is not something that is offered by municipalities. I believe it's Mars Recycling, I think, is who BRA uses. So we could also include that as part of the communication, just to provide businesses an option if that is something that council.
We should probably.
Yeah, I mean, you want to educate people, probably sooner than later. So, because this kicks in, what'd you say, July the 1st? And we don't have anything going out to anybody till August with the taxes, right? So, would we be putting something on our Facebook page or taking an ad out somewhere? Or how would you communicate this ahead of time?
Yeah, it would be directly to the
Directly?
property owner. So I have received a full listing of every property that has a bin. All those bins are serialized. So we know each property with how many they have. So we could indicate directly to them what their future charges will be and list some options, and they could reach out to the township with additional questions or contact BRA.
Okay, that would be useful. That's good. Yeah, because it has to be user pay, I think. It's not fair for the common taxpayer to be paying for this if they're not using it. So, Councillor Brody, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just be curious of what the feedback is from those businesses, because I mean, it is adding cost to businesses which get turned to the consumer. So.
Yeah. Well, and they all have a barcode on them. Like, I don't know if people know that, so they can actually scan them and they can tell if you've got somebody else's bin or vice versa. So, yeah, they'll have to assess what their individual needs are, I'm sure, going forward. But yeah, I mean, you can't just hit them with the bill. They have to have a little bit of notice too, and the sooner the better, I think. So, any Councillor Kingma, go ahead.
Through the mayor to Johnny, point of clarification. There's a sentence in the second last paragraph. You're supporting recovery of program costs incurred by the township, including prior year costs. But then the financial impact seems to imply that we're only adding a fee recovering past July 1 and onward. Is anything from prior years being included in this fee?
Great question, through the mayor to Councillor Kingma. So that fee right there is at 36 bins. So I anticipate that to fluctuate. So if more bins are added, it will be more than what they're billing us. BRA has indicated that the billing this year is fixed at 36 bins for the year, regardless of how many are actually in service. That's the other piece that they're kind of absorbing. So if additional bins are requested, then that would help recover part of the charges from the prior year as well. So the last year, it was absorbed by a lot of the residential users and the tax base. So anything we receive above and beyond those 36 bins would help cover prior year amounts that was absorbed by the township, if that helps clarify it.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Okay, seeing none, then we have a recommendation that council approve the implementation of a cost recovery model for the ICI recycling services through user fees, and further that council direct staff to advise the Blue Water Recycling Association of the township's selected approach in advance of the June 30th, 2026 deadline. And further that council direct staff to notify affected properties of the upcoming changes and the associated implementation timeline. And further, that council approve an amendment to the township's fees and charges bylaw to implement a 2026 ICI recycling fee of $71.40 per bin effective July the 1st, 2026. And further, that council direct staff to incorporate the 2027 ICI bin rate of $160 into the township's 2027 fees and charges bylaw review process for council consideration. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Campbell, seconded by Councillor Brody. All in favor? And that's carried. Next up on our agenda is the Middlesex County Employment Lands Readiness Program, the funding agreement, and I'll turn this portion of the meeting back over to our treasurer, Johnny Pereira.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. Through to council. So the purpose of this report is just to present the Employment Lands Readiness Program funding agreement for council's approval. The township was successful with their application, which council endorsed earlier this year for staff to move forward with. So this funding supports the advancement of the Center Road employment lands to concurrently complete both the servicing master plan and secondary plan. So part of the agreement there, county has approved the township's application for up to $200,000 in interest-free financing to be repaid over 5 years. So the agreement generally aligns with the program framework presented to council. Just want to note, unlike a traditional loan, the agreement does provide some provisions that allow the county to control the timing and amount of funding released. So this just means that funding may be advanced in full or in installments, and in certain circumstances could be delayed. This approach just requires some additional coordination from a financial planning perspective, but does not prevent participation and can just be managed internally. The agreement also includes some ongoing reporting and oversight requirements, which just results in some additional staff time to complete. Staff also reviewed the initial agreement in detail and worked with the county to negotiate revisions to address areas of financial and administrative risk. The annual repayment is estimated at approximately $40,000 over the 5 years and can be accommodated within the existing budget as we've allocated the amounts allocated for the secondary plan. So this just allows the township to spread those project costs over multiple years, smoothing the impact on the tax levy while advancing both studies at the same time. I would kindly ask council to consider the recommendation outlined in the report, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Johnny. Are there any questions or comments? Everyone's familiar with what the purpose of it is for. Go ahead, CAO.
I wasn't gonna say so, but I have to. Um, I appreciate Johnny taking this report on and working with the county on the funding agreement. Where we started is quite a ways away of where we are now, so Johnny did a great job of working with Middlesex County on the development of this agreement. But I would suggest that we are still quite far away from where we should be, because there is unnecessary oversight and reporting burden built into this funding agreement, where if we otherwise would have went to a bank, we would have had certainty in the money being provided to Adelaide Metcalfe and would have had a reduced reporting burden. So the agreement still gets us to where, our stated goals are going. Middlesex County is still a partner. We still have strong relationships, but I did want to give Johnny some feedback in front of council that he did a great job managing some of the risks that were provided for in the original version of this agreement. So thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none then, we have a recommendation that council approve the Middlesex County Employment Lands Readiness Program funding agreement for the Center Road Industrial Lands Project, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the agreement, and further that the treasurer be authorized to complete any required reporting and administrative actions associated with this agreement. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, next up is the Canadian Plowing Organization sponsorship. And I'll turn this portion of the meeting over to CAO Calvert.
Okay, we have some good news in the township for sure. Off the back of our annual ball tournament, we also have the Canadian Plowing Organizations Championship 2026 event. Appreciate Mike's support on putting this report together. He pretty much did the whole thing for me. I just get to do the celebration in front of council. So thank you, Mr. Barnier. At the end of the day, majority of Middlesex communities are sponsoring the event by $1,000, along with like a gift basket of municipal swag for their auction that happens during the event. Here, we're just simply looking for council's approval to sponsor the bronze package as well for the event at $1,000. It's an unbudgeted expense, but Johnny knows how to find some room in the budget to make this one happen for council. If there's any questions from council, happy to answer them as best I can. Otherwise, there's a recommendation in the report to sponsor the event by $1,000.
I'd just like to add to some of the stuff that Morgan's mentioned of interest. I'm pretty sure the whole hotel is booked for that week. That's on 81 Highway in Adelaide Metcalfe, the Holiday Inn. This is going to be a great event from an economic development perspective, bringing tourism to the area. So people will be spending time in Strathroy-Caradoc, spending their money there, as well as 81 Highway, supporting the restaurants and the hotel. And I think it's a great benefit for the entire region when you bring people to the community. And they're going to be here for a whole week. So that's great. And it's going to be the end of August 31st through to September the 4th, finishing the Friday of the long weekend. So you'll probably see an extra 800 people running around the community that week, not all together on the same day, but collectively they say they get anywhere from 250 to 300 people a day at this event. And it's just down the road from the township office, and the hosts are Junior and Karen Van Geffen. So if there's no questions or comments, we have a recommendation that council approve a bronze level sponsorship in the amount of $1,000 to support the Canadian Plowing Organization for the 2026 Canadian Plowing Championship. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, is there any other business? Counselor Brody, go ahead.
Through the mayor, I got a couple things. I've had a few ratepayers last few days ask me about, one was about what was gonna go on with the dump. Do we have any more updated information from the environment or what we're actually doing there?
I can speak to that actually, Councilor Brody. I was speaking with them about 2 weeks ago, and they are still gathering what information our consultant needs to put costing together for council. So they're hoping to have that back by the end of May. So I would expect a report in June with everything kind of outlined for council to move forward with them.
Okay, that's good for now. Also, I want to re-bring up that closed road on Sexton between Napperton and Catesville, basically. At an event yesterday. No, it's winter maintenance. It's winter maintenance. The neighbors there said there had to have been 40 cars stuck in that road this winter, at least. It's the only section that is not open. It's open on both ways. The other way, the problem is a bunch of farmers will go down it. The tractors, they see tracks. Vehicles are going down, getting stuck all the time.
So sorry, the road's closed, but people are going through the
They go
road
through it
anyway.
anyways, and then they get stuck.
And then the farmers have to go and pull them
Neighbors are
out.
pulling them out, tow trucks are pulling people out. It really needs to be addressed and opened. I talked to a counselor from Warwick tonight before I came, and yeah, he was in agreement with my thinking. Like, I would really like to see some direction for Calder or Morgan or somebody to have some discussion with Warwick to get this road open in the wintertime.
Okay, why don't we leave that for Coulter to look into and see what the ramifications and the plus and minuses are of that?
Yep.
And
that's no
come back
problems.
with a report at a
matter.
later date?
Yeah,
Is that okay?
absolutely.
Okay. Anything further? Any other business? The load restrictions are off now, are they not, or not yet? Not yet?
Chat, no.
I noticed North Mids were off today, so that's why I'm asking. Okay. All right, last call for any questions, comments? Just for anybody that's watching, next Tuesday, I believe, if that's the 28th, anyone interested in running for local council, there's an information session. I believe it starts at 6 o'clock. I could be a little bit out on that. And it's at Coldstream. It's at the community center there, right? Yeah. Yeah, so if anybody's interested, then that'd be something worthwhile going out to. Other than that, we have a recommendation that bylaw 12 of 2026 regarding the 2025 drain maintenance, bylaw 13 of 2026 regarding the amended fees and charges for ICI recycling fees, bylaw 14 of 2026, the agreement with Middlesex County Employment Lands Readiness Program, and bylaw 15 of 2026, confirming April 20th, 2026, received first, second, and third, and final readings. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Counselor Brody, seconded by Counselor Kingma. All in favor? And that's carried. And now could I have a motion to adjourn at 8:18 p.m.? Moved by Counselor Brody, seconded by Counselor Campbell. All in favor? And that's carried.